Hi everybody, I'm Jessica J and I'm here today to tell you, do not cut your rhubarb stalks when you harvest your rhubarb. In the last few years, we've learned that the way that we used to harvest the rhubarb stalks, where we would go in and just cut them off level with the ground, actually leaves the plant susceptible to rot and disease. So since then we've learned that you actually will pick the rhubarb stalks off, and I'll bring you up closer in a minute and show you how we do that. In the meantime, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this rhubarb plant. This rhubarb was my auntie's plant. She passed away 8 years ago. She passed away in the fall, and when she did, my cousin brought me the following spring as a gift some of the root of her rhubarb plant, which I thought was an extraordinary, heartfelt gift. So I planted that root in our garden that spring and took really good care of the plant that year, watered it, and I did not harvest any rhubarb stalks off of it at all the first year because I wanted to give it a chance to establish. On its second year I did the same thing. I pretty much just left it alone, kept it well watered. And then on the third year I started harvesting some rhubarb stalks. And when I harvest the rhubarb stalks, I can use them to make rhubarb crisp, never made rhubarb jam, but I used to make rhubarb strawberry jam. And another favorite of mine is the rhubarb cake. Every time I make a rhubarb cake, I think of my auntie, because when I was growing up, she used to make a lot of marvelous desserts using this rhubarb. If you're wondering what these white things are, that's the rhubarb going to seed. And those are not the ones I use for rhubarb cake or rhubarb crisps. But if you can see in here, what I do is pick some of the larger stems and I reach down quite close to the base of the plant, push down and pull, twist. Push down and pull and twist. Push down and pull and twist. When you pull the rhubarb, this is what it should look like. When you pull it out and it looks like that, then you've done minimal damage to the plant. I don't harvest all the rhubarb at once, just the larger pieces. Here's another one. That's the way it should look once you pull it out. I'm just going to harvest some of the larger pieces now and leave it grow, and I can keep harvesting off and on off this rhubarb plant for the whole entire summer. You just push down, twist and pull, and then it looks like that. I'll discard these leaves and put them in our compost pile because they're actually poisonous. You don't want to eat them or use them for anything else. This video is one of a few different videos that I'm going to be putting on my YouTube channel as a series called Our Urban Garden. I have a YouTube channel that has various things on it. One of the things being this urban garden series. And other things I talk about on my YouTube channel are some of the cooking that I do with the produce that I get from the garden, and other things such as my husband fixing things around the house. A couple days ago he fixed our lawnmower and I made a video about that. And things like that. We're just ordinary Canadians and we live in Saskatchewan. We have quite a short growing season here. We're pretty proud of the garden that we can grow in such a short growing season. It's actually quite exciting because we eat produce from our garden almost all winter long. A person can harvest quite a substantial amount of the rhubarb at a time, but of course you're not going to take all the stalks off the rhubarb at any one time because that would be a little bit too hard on the plant. So I usually like to leave at least half the stalks for the plant, and I just take the larger ones and leave the smaller ones to grow. And here's the piece that went to seed, or one of the stalks that has gone to seed. And we'll check it out. Yeah, I think it's too woody. That's going to go into the compost pile as well. This piece that went to seed. Just like that. You don't want to ever pull so hard on some stalks that you would pull the crown of the plant out of the ground, because you just wouldn't want to do that. That would harm it a little bit too much. So there you have it. This is about how much of the plant I'm going to leave behind so it can keep growing. And maybe what I'll do, I'm alone today, so I'll see if I can be camera person and pick rhubarb at the same time. You just reach down really close to the bottom of the plant and sort of push down and just twist and pull. And there you go. That's how you pick the rhubarb. Or at least that's how I do it. I'm afraid if I pull that great big seed stalk out and all the others, that I'm going to maybe harm the roots of the plant. Now I'm not sure what an expert would do, but I stopped for a second and looked online, and a lot of other people just cut these seed stalks off, which is what I have done in the past as well. And if I pull on that, I think I'm going to hurt my plant. So for the compost, I'm just going to cut these seed tops off. But there's my compost pile, and this is what I do. Oh, there's my raspberry patch, by the way. My husband and I, just a couple days ago, we pruned out the old raspberry canes out of this patch, and we made a YouTube video about it. So I've cut the tops of the seed stalks off to show you. See how hollow they are? So what I'm going to do is cut the seed stalk off just above the ground level. So those ones I do have to cut off. Just going to cut it off close to the ground like that. If there are any gardening experts out there, please let me know what you do with the seed stalks. Do you cut them off like I did, or do you pull them out? Because the way that these seed stalks are, I'm afraid if I would pull on them that I would be hurting the root of my plant. So please let me know what you do. This pile in the fall was just huge because I put turnip tops, potato tops, these rhubarb tops, asparagus tops, all kinds of things in this compost pile. And then over the winter, it just decomposed down and is starting to compost up nicely. My husband and I just come along and we turn it over and we put in a mixture of garden things into that compost pile. So now let's bring this rhubarb in the house. When I get back in the house, this is all I do. I just rinse the rhubarb stalks under cold water, put them on a cutting board, and then I like to cut those bottom ends off that came out of the ground a little. just discard them. And this is how I chop my rhubarb. Just like that. Into little chunks that are the perfect size for rhubarb crisp or rhubarb cake, or even if you're going to make strawberry rhubarb jam or something. It doesn't take very long to harvest the rhubarb, bring it in the house, rinse it, and throw it into freezer bags, that's for sure. If your rhubarb is a little bit bruised up, no big deal, just peel that little bit off and no problem. I have eaten many rhubarb crisps in my life, which maybe you can tell because I'm not exactly thin, but these days we eat a lot less rhubarb crisps. Some people's rhubarb plants make really bright red rhubarb, and other people's plants sometimes don't, and I think it might depend on the variety of rhubarb. I know that if I leave my stalks get quite a lot older, that they will turn more red with time, but sometimes I find that right about now is when the rhubarb is at its nicest and it's not quite so tart. To me, the little green pieces are a little bit sweeter, but I might be wrong. When the rhubarb is like this is generally when I like to harvest it. If it has got a little bit older and is large and really ruby red, I'll harvest it then as well. I just harvest it whenever I can, actually, and whatever works, and whenever I want to make a rhubarb crisp. I don't think there's an exact science or you have to be very fussy at all when it comes to rhubarb, because once you add your sugar and your oats or whatever you're going to add to make a delicious dessert, I don't think it matters too much, at least not in this house. Once I chop it up, I actually usually give it one last rinse before I pop this into the fridge or freezer. If you have any questions about my garden or my rhubarb harvest today, feel free to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good day.